Actually, I should, admit that I had also not known much about the Cochin chambers. After Hari spoke to me, then I Googled, and I found it is great. It's something perhaps we should be proud. The people of Kerala should be proud that perhaps one of the oldest chamber of commerce in the country is from this state. And for me, it's double nostalgia. Rather, it's a real double nostalgia. My wife's grandfather, maternal grandfather, Mr. K.S. Menon, was the chief engineer of Port Trust, and he was working under Bristow. So when I spoke yesterday to my mother-in-law, who is about 80 here, she said she remembers her father going for this Chamber of Commerce meeting along with Bristow. And it doesn't end there. Mr. Menon was the first. He studied engineering in London, and he had come here.
Right.
Pardon me? Not audible? Okay, fine. So after he finished his engineering in London, he joined Bristow, and the first locomotive which run over that, I believe it's called the Venduruthi Bridge or whatever that bridge is, he actually drove that. He said, let me drive this engine on the first maiden run of the locomotive on the Venduruthi Bridge. Anyway, this is just aside, because when I heard this thing, I thought I should doubly thank Mr. Hari for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to all of you. Had it not been the COVID time, perhaps it would have been more, it would have been wonderful to be there and just for sharing with all of you members. Rather, my mother-in-law was so happy about a year and a half, 2 years back, just before COVID. I took her to the house where Bristow used to live, which has been converted to a hotel now. And so there are certain nostalgic memories. And now adding the Cochin chamber, it becomes doubly nostalgic. Fine. So that was just a side talk, I thought. Generally, when you talk to a group of CEOs, it becomes very difficult to talk. When I'm saying difficult is when you're talking to a student, when you're talking to a young team, young entrepreneurs, young professionals, there are certain things which obviously they will be looking at us. But when we are already matured as a CEO, there sometimes you feel that yes, what is there to talk to them and what is there for them to listen to us. But at the same time, I still feel that it is not more as a Gyan-giving talk. It should be more as experience sharing. Because what happens is, many times you find that when you talk to somebody, your own peer, you get information which becomes very easy for you to implement in your own organization. None of us are experts of our own. We look at others, we listen to others, we try to emulate others. And so this is exactly what I am going to do. I am not going to give you a gyan. I thought I will break my talk into two portions. One, a little bit theoretical, not much theory because we don't like theory, I know. And second, a practical experience, what I had encountered in my life of almost 47 years I completed in the professional life. As Hari just now mentioned, rather our thinking is so common. I was also about to give the first example of turbulent times of the flights. Rather, most of us when we fly and when we find that the flight is going through a turbulence, all of us, however frequent flyers you may be there, we get really nervous. We really get nervous. And sometimes on a jocular way, we think all the bad things which we did, it comes in our mind, God, I will not do this, I will not do this, I will not do this. This is natural, okay? And here comes the captain, or here comes the leader, who actually steers the aircraft so well, in spite of the turbulence. And you find many times some of these captains announce, don't worry, put your seat belts, everything will be fine. That is exactly. And when he actually lands, we never see him, we never know him, but everybody gives an instantaneous applause. That's a very simple, fundamental example when we find how a captain or a leader steers the very well. So that is one issue. Second recent example, if you have seen the European Cup of football matches, you would have seen, I think it was the Swedish team or a Finland team, one of those Denmark team. When the Denmark team, when the player was injured, he was in a very difficult state. And you find the captain of the team took over the whole thing. He really acted like a real leader, removed all the people, covered him, did not allow the TVs to focus much on him. And immediate medical attention was provided. And that was actually, again, an example of how a leader behaves. So as Mr. Hari mentioned, it is not only an industry. A leadership can be shown, leadership qualities can be shown at any place by anybody. But the onus always rests on the leader, because people would like to see what the leader is doing in a time of crisis. I'm not going into a political debate, but we know that when the second COVID issue came and when there was such a huge issue for oxygen plants, etc., you can find how the Prime Minister of the country took over the leadership. He started taking actions immediately. So there are diameters and these examples where you find that leaders are, or successful leaders are the one who actually come out with solutions in turbulent times, not that, oh my God, what can I do? This is a fait accompli, nothing can happen. I think that should not be the trait of any successful leader. Professionally, like we are all basically professionals. So what happens is we have a lot of disruptions in our business, anytime. And the general disruptions which we have been learning, which we have been studying in various management courses, which people have been experiencing in various professional life, is technology obsolescence is a disruption. We have, I'm not going to those details. There are plenty of examples. There is macroeconomic issues. Whoever is the US president, it depends on whether it's a Trump or a Biden. It makes the economy of the world little bit turbulent. Don't know how it will take shape. A war in Ethiopia, faraway place, but it is impacting many people all over the world, including India, including my company, which we have been doing a lot of work in Ethiopia. So there is a financial turbulence or a financial, what happens, whether it's a demonetization, whether it's a currency fluctuation, whether something else happens. So those are the things. And the fourth one, which is most important, is with regard to the disruptions on HR. HR, the skills, the skill gap, the need, the retention. So these are the usual disruptions which we have been, learning all our life, handling all our life. But suddenly what happened? In 1970, when Alvin Toffler wrote the book, Future Shock, he did predict that there will be a changed world. He did predict that this will not be technology-driven change, but it will be a philosophical-driven change, psychological-driven change. He also mentioned that the ambitions of the people will need this, make this change. But did he ever imagine that such a change will happen even in a matter of 50 years? In 1970, he wrote the book, and in 2020, in the next 50 years, such a change which has happened, I don't think anybody would have ever imagined. I'm talking about the COVID, though I'm not going to talk much about COVID, but still, as part of the theory. Now, here is a case where something has impacted the whole world. There is no country which has not been impacted, be it most developed country, be it most poor country, be it most populous country, or be it least populous country. So it has impacted everything, economy to education. It has impacted trade and travel. It has impacted arts and sports. There is not a single area where it has not impacted. And I can tell you one thing, this was the time for the CEOs to really come out of if they are in a shell, or come out and give examples of their actual thought process, how they really lead, how the leaders lead in a situation like COVID. It cannot be the same yardstick applied to all the industries. No. But Just on the COVID issue, I will not take about more than 2 or 3 minutes. Two issues were paramount at the time of COVID. March 24th, 2020, when the Prime Minister announced the lockdown in the country, and then only people started feeling the seriousness. Two basic points came up. One was the survival issue. It became very clear whether the industry, the organization, the unit will survive. The survival issue was perhaps the biggest challenge. What do we do? Sorry. How do we survive? Will we survive? What should be done? And equally important for the CEOs was the revival issue. Nobody imagined how long it will go, but people thought it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. I'm sure nobody could have guessed correctly at that time. But both these issues, the survival issue and the revival issue, the CEOs, the leaders who really managed them, I think hats off to them. And I'm very happy to say that in most of the organizations, most of the successful organizations, it is the leaders who really come out with solutions which they would have never imagined. They would have never thought, we would have never thought, or the Cochin Chamber would have never thought to have a talk like this or an annual general meeting like this. All this happened because of the thought process, because of the different mode of thinking of the leaders when challenged by turbulent times. So this is a very classic example how people have gone. What were the 4 important points? If you look across the world, 4 important points which came with all CEOs, all leaders. Number 1 was conserve cash. The only point which was there in everybody's mind is conserve cash, preserve cash. Liquidity was a big challenge. Nobody knew what is going to happen. So that was number 1. Number 2, for CEOs, was reduce the fixed expenses. Each line item of the balance sheet, each line item of your expenses has to be looked in a lot of detail. Why should I have such a fixed expenses? Everybody was actually working towards reducing the expenses. Working capital, management of working capital, many times, many rich companies are not even bothered about that. But the COVID really taught people that yes, management of the working capital is very, very essential. 4, the capex. People or even rich companies were spending money in capex like anything. At the time of COVID, it was you're not sure what is going to happen to the company after 1 year or 1.5 years or 2 years. So putting money in a capex was not at all an advisable thing, and people are very cautious in putting money. And the 5th, banking relationship. You see, many good companies very rarely meet the banks because it just goes on. But actually, COVID really created a situation where everybody felt that a relationship with your bankers is very important. Last 2 points, which I am sure every leader would have done it, is customer contact. People thought that, yes, I have to only go and meet the customer. No, the COVID created new methods, new methodology, new ways of contacting customer, keeping him in the loop, telling him, yes, we are there, we'll be with you. He's also in a problem. Your customer also will be in equally problem. And the most important thing, managing the human resources. I am telling you, this was perhaps the most difficult challenge for a chief executive, for a leader, where he himself doesn't know what is going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. He doesn't know. But can he say, I do not know? No. He has to really play the role of a father figure. Give a confidence to the employees. At the same time, there's a dichotomy. I said, reduce the fixed expenses, reduce the manpower cost. Both are there. It's perhaps one of the most difficult challenge for any CEO to reduce the people at one side and at the same time see the sufferings of the people who are not even having 2 times meal. And for that, the most important aspect, which we all know, but the importance came what? Of communication. Communicate. I think this was very, very crucial in terms of the present COVID crisis. As I said, I'm not talking to you much about the COVID. I thought as we should close by about 8:40, 8:45, Hari. Is it okay? Okay, fine. So, so I know that. So what I'm going to now do is, we will not talk about COVID. Let us talk about, this is all theory. And as I said, every person today listening to this talk will have his or her views on each of the way how to tackle it. The communication somebody may be doing, the online communication, somebody may be doing some other way. So we are not going into that. What does chief executives do? What does leaders do differently? I think that is more important. Now let me give you my example. I'll now talk about HEC Ranchi. Though you have seen my detail, I started working in a place in Palghat. Though I'm Marnada Malayali. I studied in Rajasthan and Gujarat, all my schooling, all my college. Got a job in Palghat, worked here for 21 years in a public sector instrumentation limited. Then I decided that I should leave this place, otherwise I'll become complacent. Because I built a house here, my wife is from Palghat, my father-in-law was a police commissioner here. So I thought, if I be in a place like this, I'll become complacent, and I went out to a private sector. In 1994, after working 21 years in Palghat. Then I was about 13 years in a US company called Emerson Process Management, having a joint venture in India. Then again, I thought, why not I go back to the public sector? And that was in 2007. And mind you, I'll just take half a minute for that. The reason of my going back from a very lucrative CEO's position in a private sector to a public sector, one, obviously there was something back in my mind. When I was a young boy of 21 years and joined Instrumentation Limited, I was fascinated by the leader of instrumentation. Brigadier B.J. Shahani was the managing director at that time. And I thought I should be like him. So that dream was there in the back of my mind. Why I'm saying this would have been more apt for youngsters, because many times certain things hit you on head, and that is what you wanted. So I am an accidental CMD of HEC. Instrumentation Limited, CMD's position was to be vacant. I thought I will apply for that. I thought I am the most eligible candidate for that. For a practice, I went to attend the interview for HEC. I got selected. When I applied for instrumentation, they did not even call me. I came to know the rule says in public sector, if you're selected in one, you cannot be given an opportunity in another public sector. So that is how I decided to come to HEC. Mind you, from a totally south base, I am going to a Ranchi, Ranchi is not a very comfortable place. In those times, there are a lot of political issues, violence, etc. was there. I'll now tell you what was HEC. HEC was one of the largest companies in the engineering field in the country. If I tell you the sheer size of the HEC township, it is 7 kilometers by 6 kilometers, 42 square kilometers. Huge township. 25,000 employees were there at the time. 11,000 houses are there in the HEC colony. It was a huge company. And the story goes, when Pandit Nehru went to Russia, he told Khrushchev took him to some heavy engineering manufacturing company. So Pandit Nehru said, hey, I want a replica of this. And that is how this company came. In the first 47 years of the company was set up in 1958. I took over in 2007. In the first 47 years of the company made profit on 3 occasions: 1976-77, 77-78, and 86-87. On 3 occasions, the company made profit, and I landed up myself at the age of 55. I was 55 when I applied for HEC. At the age of 55, in this place, people have not been getting salary. Plant have become old, dilapidated. The morale of the employees are very, very low. The technology is obsolete. Old Russian technology, when you compare it today, it becomes actually obsolete. So this was the situation given to me when I took over the job. Now, What do I do? Can I return back? It won't be good. I decided that I should actually make an attempt. Though my US company was all the time saying, anytime you can come back. That's a different issue. But I thought, let me try. And this is what I wanted to share with you. As I said, there will be a lot of challenges. So when I made an analysis, first 1 month, I did not open my mouth. Oh, I'll do this, nothing. I didn't open my mouth because I don't know what it is. So when I saw the challenges, there are 4 challenges: technology, finance, cash, plant and machinery, and manpower. I thought all the first 3 I cannot handle because I need money for that. So I thought, let me take up the 4th challenge, and that is the human relations, handling the people. Okay, that is one point. I did an exercise and found that the average term of a CMD of HEC was 1.8 years, just 1.8 years. We get appointment for 5 years, but it's only 1.8 years. Well, it's the Schedule A public sector. Hari knows the schedule numbers. So schedule, ABC. So people come here, take a jump, go to more lucrative companies. Fine. I thought, okay, so this 1.8 years is time where you don't get any time to do anything for the company. I decided mentally I'll stay here for 5 years. Now, when I looked at the HR point, you will be surprised when I passed out in 1973. I still remember getting a job as a GET, graduate engineer training in HEC was extremely difficult. It was one of those best companies, HEC, ITI, BHL. They are all, blue chip public sector companies. Getting a job there was very difficult. And in HEC, the quality of the manpower, there are MTechs from IIT, BTechs from IIT, and all working as senior manager, DGM, etc. And if I tell you something, you'll laugh. When I joined the company in 2007 May, my salary as a CMD was 13,000 rupees basic. In 2007, 13,000 rupees basic. Mind you, I'm saying this for a reason. And because it is a schedule, there was no pay revision in HEC. HEC was still in the 1992 pay scales because the company has not made profits. The government in 1991, when the globalization hit India, or rather India accepted globalization, it was decided that the public sectors will have to stand on their own feet. And public sectors who are not performing were not actually rewarded. So this was the reason. Fine. Why I said 13,000 is my salary, the people who are below me, that is the general manager, the DGM, the salaries were 9,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 11,000 rupees. Mind you, they're all engineering graduates of IITs and highly qualified. Okay, fine. We are not discussing why they did not leave. That's a different issue. So I decided, what do I do? I should think something different. When I looked around the plant and machinery, though it is old, it is like an old warhouse. It can do a lot of things. We decided, let us change our culture. One, the people who are very, how do I actually put it? They are so reluctant to even come out. They were in a shell. So I thought we should have some training for them. Now, can I afford to get some good MBA training institute from wherever it is, anywhere? I can't do that. No money. What I did, I think I did something unthought in those days. I got Swamijis from Chinmaya Mission and Ramakrishna Mission. People told me, sir, you don't know, in public sector, you can't do this. I said, I'm not propagating a Chinmaya Mission. I'm not propagating a Ramakrishna Mission. I'm using the expertise of those people. And for you, many of you may be aware, there are plenty of Swamijis who are actually MTechs from IITs and highly qualified. So what was my purpose there? My purpose there was to open the closed mind of my colleagues. I didn't want these people to come and give a training how to manage inventory or how to do the casting or how to make a machine. No, I only wanted them to really open the skills, open the closed doors of their mind. And you will be surprised. So what I did, they used to come for about 3-day program, etc. There, I used to tell various senior officers, Mr. General Manager X, please take Swamiji to your house for today night for dinner. The reason is this Swamiji's requirements are very less, unlike many other professionals. They want some sattvic bhojan, some roti, some dal, nothing else. And when this general manager takes the Swamiji to his house, I also tell him to invite some half a dozen officers so that there is again a evening discussions going can happen. This, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it was fantastic. There has been a huge difference in the thought process of the people. Second, this is first point. Second change, when this was successful, now the same Swamiji cannot talk to the workers. It doesn't, it will not. You know, so as I said, you can't have the same yardstick. So I decided I will handle the workers. I was reasonably good in Hindi. So we did programs for workers, 3-day program, and the third day, second half, about 2 hours was the final function, valedictory function. And I told my HR director, send a message that all workers who are attending that, this program is to be about 30 to 40 workers in each batch, should come with their wives for this program. There is a huge halla. What is this? Some new, that's the way this, some Madrasi ko aaya hai, and he's saying, apna wife ko leke isme aao, program mein aao, training mein aao. And the first few meetings, for very few women came, very reluctantly. 1 or 2 women came, union leaders' wives came, something like that. What I thought, see, when, this is exactly what we have to think differently. When a company is in difficult situation, people are not getting salaries 3, 4 months. The men who come to office, they come, they'll chit chat, they criticize the management, they criticize everybody on earth, they will not do any work, and they'll go back. It's the women folk who have to really face the brunt of all these issues at home. They have to send the children to school, they have to make food with whatever is resources available, they have to manage everything. It's the women who really are actually facing all these problems whenever there is a strike, whenever there is a lockout, whenever there is a financial instability. So I thought I will give this opportunity to the women so that they can talk to me openly. And so it became a platform for them. And I used to listen to everybody who had got a complaint. Everybody, as I said, communicate, just listen. I had no solution. Absolutely, I had no solution. But I used to listen to them. I used to understand their problem. And mind you, to cut a long story short, after about 5, 6 such programs, there used to be a rush for this program. People, the women, the same women, workers, women used to come up very well dressed. They used to feel that they have to come talk to the chairman, ask him questions. And what I used to say only one thing. My logic was very simple. I say, काम करो, अपने पतियों को बोलो मेहनत करे, मुनाफा बनाए, कंपनी मुनाफा होने से आपका तनख्वाह मिलेगी टाइम पर. Again, the logic was, in India, particularly in states like Bihar and others, a 50% men may not even listen to their wives. They will say, you get lost, don't even listen to that man who talks anything. But there is a 50% chance of those men, those listening to their wives when they say, hey, why don't you listen to him? Why don't you do some work? So this was the second big success, a different thought process. And even today, I left that place in 2012. It's almost about 10 years over. I still have lot of great supporters from the women folk of HEC Ranchi. A third point, I'll just tell you 1 or 2 points. HEC, as I said, has been in loss. There are 35 trade unions. Kerala is nothing compared to that. There were 35 trade unions, mind you, and it was impossible for people to work there. There was no attendance. You laugh, there is no attendance. In the earlier days, there used to be that card punching system was there. They used to put all sand into the card punching machine, and you can't even, so the gate used to be open, people get in, people get out. Okay. I decided 2 things. One, there should be some sort of a punching machine or card swapping. It was in 2007. There's a lot of furor. People said the CMD does not have money for salary, but he's spending almost 5 crore rupees for an attendance system, etc. It is not 5 crore, it's in lakhs, of 8, 10 lakhs you get attendance system, even in 2008. And you know who helped me in this? The ladies. Many times people think the turnaround is happening only because of the people working so hard and the change attitude. It's the ladies. I told the ladies that this is what I am going to do. What did they say? This is exactly. They said, sir, you are doing a great thing. Please do that. Please let them be 8 hours in the factory, because these people, my husbands, come to my house at any time they want. They come at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They just sit here and make our life miserable. So what I wanted to say here is, if we think differently, you may perhaps get a different solution. If you just go on the one-track mind, thought process, you may not get a real solution. So this, again, the women folk of HEC helped me in this. And now, so what was my logic? And this time I put the swiping machines on the gate itself. Previously, it used to be in all shops, and some of the shops are 1.5 to 2 kilometers long. Huge shops of them. Okay. So I said, doesn't matter. My first job is people should come inside the factory, be inside the factory, even if they do not work. Mind you, if I say that I want them to work for 8 hours, I may never succeed. So you have to make some sacrifices. You have to make some changes in your discipline. So attendance came. I said we should have elections for the union. I said nothing doing. I am okay. I said, one good thing was there. I am from Kerala, so they know that yes, this man has no interest in Ranchi, because most of the previous chairmen were in and around Jharkhand, Bihar, etc. So I said, I have no interest. My interest is only 5 years. I will work, do something for you, and go. The elections were held for the recognized unions, and we decided the top 5 unions will only be allowed for negotiations and discussions, and the one who gets the highest will be the recognized union. The rest all will be registered union. And mind you, it became such a huge success. Out of 35 unions, then you have to discuss and decide with only 5 unions, the life becomes very easy. In HEC, many may not know, there is even murder done by union leaders inside the plant. Inside the plant. Okay. It's been a very violent area. Very violent area. So these were some of the activities done with regard to the HR. I'll not take much time. I'll take only one more example. A second example is with regard to the customers. Most of the public sectors or many companies, when you are in a difficult situation, you do not go to the customers. You do not go. You think, what the point? I cannot even supply the machines to them. There's no point. I made it a point to visit all important customers, and the customers not in metropolitan cities. I used to go to Singrauli coalfields. I used to go to Ramagundam. I used to go to all difficult places so that the people will not think that the CMD is only going to Delhi or Bombay or Calcutta. And that made a lot of difference. What gave me a strength? Any customer I used to meet, they used to say, we are glad that you have come. They also said that if nobody can do it in India, we know only HEC can do it, because HEC have got that good infrastructure and facility. So it becomes a choice for everybody to come to HEC in the end if nobody is there. I told my people, let us make HEC the first choice. So what I wanted to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that in a situation like this, you have to really think differently. This was one side. Second side, what is important is people are not getting salaries. That is number one. People are getting 1992 salaries in 2007, number two. The Government of India rule said you should make profit for 3 occasions. In the first year itself, I could really, with the help of all the team members, make profit. I went to the Government of India, I went to the Cabinet Secretary, told them, you cannot be rigid on the rules, please give a 97 pay scale. And actually they helped, the government helped giving the pay scales of 97 in the first year. So in 2008, from my basic from 13,000 became 25,000 rupees. Okay, so that was one. Second point, we said we should think big. And when you start thinking big, you will become big. HEC's order book was less than 100, 120 crores. Orders used to come of 35 crores. we could bag an order of 742 crores single order from Rourkela steel plant. Can you imagine that for a company who's never thought 742 crores? Now, this is the effect of the whole team. I am not saying that I did it. No. But as a leader, you have to play a role. You have to give a direction. You have to give a confidence. They should feel that you are with them. Last point I wanted to tell you. Yeah. One big thing which used to always happen, why the union and the management used to always fight with regard to the salary, with regard to the revision. The union does not know what is happening. So every CMD when they used to come, after meeting Delhi, Hari knows very well how the Delhi setup is there with the ministry. We go back to our company and they used to say that, salary will, ho jayega, something, ministry is trying for pay revision. I decided, when I come back from Delhi, I never used to go to my house. I used to go straight to the office, call the executives, my team, thereafter call the union. And I used to tell verbatim what happened. I used to also tell them I could not even meet the minister. I could not meet the secretary because they may be sometimes busy somewhere else. The file is there itself. File has not moved even 1 inch. Gentlemen and ladies, you know what happens? The people start trusting you. People believe you. And this is one message I want to give everybody. Not to you. You people are, no, I'm talking when I talk to youngsters. I tell them that if you are truthful, you can definitely do a lot more in a better manner than the other way. People ask me, what are the, if you have been successful, what are your reasons of success? I tell them only 2 things. One, give credit to, it's obviously Dr. Kalam's, I read it a number of times and I'm actually following him a lot. I don't have to repeat that. All of you know about what he talked about in his life when he was the first project director for the first spaceship. So I get all inputs from all the people, but I take decisions my own. If the decision is wrong, I take responsibility for that. If the decision is good, I say these are the suggestions given by these people, it is their decision. And I'm telling you, it is not just for the sake of saying, I'm telling you, we will automatically get the glory. Nobody can stop people getting the glory. No. But if you give the glory to the people who helped you, that is one. Second point, which is with regard to the telling the truth. I used to always feel that, once you go up higher in the hierarchy, you should be telling, you may be forced to tell certain, or you may be forced not to tell the truth at times. I'm telling you one thing, if you're telling the truth, it may be bitter, but it will help. It will help. People will know you can be trusted. And so, to cut a long story short, so certain things which we did, these are not sufficient to change the company. There are still a lot of other things, management, store, supply chain management, so many things has to be done. But to summarize, I want to tell you, all the 5 years I was there, the company was making profit. All the 5 years. Company has been really given a lot of, recognition. In one line, I would like to say how the company's productivity increased. HEC used to make large shovels for the coal mines. And we used to make actually 5 shovels in a year. 5 shovels in a year. When I left, we were making 2 shovels per month. 24 shovels in a year. Almost 5 times. With no increase in manpower. Not even one number of employee has been added. So, how did it happen? It is just happened by the people who work there sincerely. And we as the leaders, we can only give them the platform. We can only show them how it can be done. We cannot tell them how it should be done. We can say how it can be done. They'll do it. They're intelligent enough. They are more intelligent than you and me. So, as a leader in turbulent times, what do we have to do? We have to really think with a single point agenda if you have it in mind. So that is very important. If you start, I had 5 challenges: old machines, old technology, disgruntled employees, no money. 5 steps. Can I attack all the 5? impossible. If I start attacking all the 5, I'll be lost. So you have to take only one. And I decided the only one was making company profitable. Nothing else. If the company was profitable, it will have money. The company was profitable, they'll be able to pay salaries. The company was profitable, employees will be happy. The company was profitable, orders will come. So, single point, and I used to give this direction to all the people who sign a paper. When you sign a paper, many of you who are aware of public sector, the file goes through various levels. You sign if you find this signature of yours will be beneficial for the company, which will lead to profitability of the company. If it does not, you stop it. Don't sign it. Don't sign it. Let us see. So anyway, this has been my 5 years at Ranchi. Enjoyed it. I am sure all of you are so seasoned chief executives. But at the same time, I want to tell you one thing. That it is people like you and me who can make a change. I heard at the beginning of, before the session started, with regard to the industrial situation in Kerala. Sometimes we feel sad that the situation in our state is so bad. We have got fantastic people. I know Hari, when he was in the public sector itself, he had made a name for himself. And he's doing wonderful job here. So there are so many people all over the country from Kerala who can really help the industries in the state. Cochin Chamber of Commerce, perhaps I'm sure you'll be able to take a lead in removing the political color. What Japan does it, Japan has got a lot of issues. But as far as industries are concerned, they never bring the political color. They never bring a political color. They think it is for the Japanese nation. And if you, and I'm sure Hari has got a good rapport, he'll be having a good way of putting across. The Cochin Chamber has got a good way, good reputation. You should put it to the nothing less than the Chief Minister that the state today needs great employment opportunities. The industries in the state has to come up very well. And for that, irrespective of the political color, if they are able to change and bring only for 5 years, if they bring very strict rules, very strict guidelines, very strict standard operating procedures, and I can assure you one thing, Kerala can become a great place for us. And not only for us, we are almost on the verge of our end for the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you, each one of you, for patiently listening to me. As I said, it is not a gyan, but it is just a interaction. I would have loved to see you, because seeing and having an eye contact makes a lot of difference than just blabbering it over a laptop. But still, I would like to thank Hari for giving me this opportunity. He has been a very close friend, and he gave me an opportunity. He said, you should come and talk to the Cochin Chamber. I'm grateful to him, grateful to Cochin Chamber. Wish you all good luck and have a great day. I think I have not taken much time. Thank you, everybody.